Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Garage Gym Athlete Podcast. I'm your host, Jerred Moon. The Garage Gym Athlete Podcast is a result of my desire to build better humans, unequivocal coaches, and autonomous athletes. I've spent the last several years obsessing over program design, nutrition, and every other way you can optimize human performance. This podcast distills the latest scientific research with what I've learned and blends it with the not-so-scientific field of mental toughness. We are here to build you into a dangerously effective athlete. If you enjoy this podcast, you can find out more about our training at garagegymathlete.com. And if you want to pursue more into the field of coaching and programming, head to endof3fitness.com. Thanks for listening. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Garage Gym Athlete Podcast. Jerred Moon here with Ashley Hicks and Joe Courtney. How's it going?
Hello.
Going fabulously. Question mark.
Well, Joe, I don't feel like we've gotten a daily over decades update from you. Ashley and I've definitely talked about it on our solo casts, whatever you want to call those. Times you're not here. So anyway, how's it going, man? Because I don't think that I know what you've been doing from our team meetings, but you haven't told the world yet how you've been crushing it. So what's your update on the daily over decades?
Well, as everyone know, I had a lot of time to make up. I'm going to see if my numbers actually load. I had a lot of time to make up because I dug myself into like a 12 session hole in the start of
we started in January, and he's like, you know what? I'm not going to work out for January and really see how hard this challenge is.
Yeah, I'm just put myself against the wall to really, really stress the 300 challenge. So I think I'm on almost 7 weeks in a row. I think this week will be seven. I think I'm on 7 weeks in a row of 7 sessions. So I haven't missed a session in 7 weeks ish. I had to look it up, but that also means, more importantly, that I've showered every day for the last 7 weeks. So,
all right.
Because if I don't train, I probably don't shower.
Let's talk about that. I probably overshower. I probably shower 2 to 3 times a day.
That's because you also sauna at night and do all sorts of stuff because you're sweating constantly.
Yeah.
But it's 60 degrees in Monterey all the time, so I don't sweat doing anything. I'm just I'll just this can wait until I actually sweat. And there's half workouts I do that I'm just maybe a little bit of sweat, but not really much at all. I'm
in the Joe boat. If I don't train, I don't shut at you. I don't shower. So if I'm not sweating, it's getting warmer in Florida. So I'm probably going to have to start showering every day.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. 7 or so weeks in a row. I know that next Wednesday will probably be my first day that I will have to miss, or next Thursday will be the first day that I have to miss, but I'm fine with it because I've just made up so much time and I'm all but caught up. I think I'm at 110 sessions. And I also know that, I can string together 7 training session weeks anytime. And whenever I'm home, I'll just train, but I'll be on the road and gone for that day. So it's I'm not really as worried or stressed about it to miss that one day.
Well, you're crushing it, man. 7 weeks of 7 days a week is tough. Have you noticed anything appetite wise, recovery wise? Because that's a long time to not have a day off.
I definitely have deload, and I've definitely moved my days around a lot because there have been times where training might be getting to me, or there's just an extra bit of soreness. But usually one of my 7th days is a 20 to 25 minute bike around there. So that's usually the day that I'll kind of sprinkle in, or I'll shift to an upper body day or sexy Saturday if I really need to rest because my hips and low back have been a little bit tight. So on those days, I'll do some stretching, and then I'll just change up my days of the week. As far as appetite, at first I was good. I needed to make sure that I ate enough. Now I think I'm snacking too much. So I think I'm recovered just fine. But now I'm just I think I need to cut back on the snacks and actually be more deliberate about my meals that I have. But
tracking?
As long as no, I'm just not really worried about. I don't really have that kind of. I don't really feel like I need to right now. Recovering fine. I think body composition wise, I'm actually doing pretty good too as well, especially with the extra added sexy Saturdays and conditioning that I'm doing. So I think everything's good for the most part.
Ashley, how's it going for you? How's the daily over decades treating you?
Good. I'm over halfway. So It's good. I'm only a couple of sessions behind Joe, like 8. But
Hey, I passed somebody.
yeah, no, it's going good. I'm trying to add more protein. Funny, I know that's where the study is kind of on, but trying to add more protein into my diet. I'm tracking a few things for macros. You kind of gave me the idea, and then I talked to my my super cool friend who helps me out, Emily. And so going over some macro stuff, but protein has always been my hardest it's like the thing that I can't hit the easiest. And so I've kind of am doing a little experiment with whey, because I've been dairy free for a little bit. And then just adding some other things like Greek yogurt and other stuff to it. But it's definitely helped me hit my protein goal. I'm trying to add, I used to, back in the day when I would have whey, add a shaker bottle of protein right after my workout. And I just have kind of gotten out of that habit, where I'll have like my smoothie probably at 45 minutes after I work out, after I shower and get ready for the day. And that seems to be helping, but I also don't want it. Like I'm not there. Like I'm not, does that make sense? Like I have to force myself to do it. Like it's not like I don't know. So we'll see. I don't know. Yeah.
Protein stuff. I always think that's the hardest macro. If you're not super intentional about it.
You're not wrong.
Daily over decades for me, I think it's fine. I'm just doing 6 days a week, hit the 300 minutes, and I don't look at anything else. So that's just what I've been. I don't know how many sessions I've done. I just know by that math, I will get there by the end of the year. So
probably October.
Just stay in the course, but it's been good.
No more 12-second snafus.
7-day workouts.
No, it's been, luckily, it's been fine. I did get a giant fan for my garage. That's a big update. Like a giant one. It's like,
did you get the big?
It's like 5 feet.
Ass fan?
Yeah.
Like the
No. I bought one at Tractor Supply, so it's just like the Tractor Supply brand, but it's massive and it's awesome because it keeps my garage, I wouldn't say cool, but like keeps it windy and
airflow.
That's always nice.
Hey, that was so important in Bahrain because the pad that we would work out on outside was so hot. I mean, you're just hot as outside, but they had a giant one huge fan, and then they had 4 other fans in the corners that kind of pointed in towards you, and like it was still 110 115 in the shade, but that made a difference.
Yeah, the fan definitely helps. I considered getting like a swamp cooler. They had those there as well. You guys ever like had one of those in your?
That's what Scott's parents have in their New Mexico house.
Yeah, so I was
in the desert. It's common.
But it was like $1,000 for one of those, and I was like, well.
Yeah. / would you have to install it on the top of your garage?
I'm okay being hot. No, these are just like standalone, so like you can like roll it around. And I don't know if it like does it make the inside of your garage wet, because it uses water to cool it down.
Probably.
Like, so I don't need more humidity. So anyway, the fan is great. It's crushing it. I just wanted to let everybody know I got a fan. Pretty excited about it. We can get into the study though. We are talking protein. So we're gonna go over the study about protein. The topic for today is gonna be virtual races, and then we're going to do the workout, which is Murph. So we'll talk about that, some tips, anything we've got on that. All right. So the study is moderate and higher protein intakes promote superior body recomposition in older women performing resistance training. This was done in 2022. So they were older women. I'm just want to throw that out there. Weren't like,
they're over 60.
Yeah, not like over 35 masters, how they consider it like in fitness competitions and stuff. They are over 60. So the big reason they did this was to analyze the effects of different amounts of daily protein ingestion on body recomposition following 24 weeks of resistance training. And body recomposition is the unicorn, where you're trying
everybody
to
wants.
Gain muscle and lose fat at the same time. It is possible, but it's also known as body recomp or recomposition. So this study analyzed data from 130 untrained women. All participants were over the age of 60 and physically independent, which you actually have to state if someone's over the age of 60. Yeah, physically independent. Yeah, I thought it was such a strange thing. It's such a slap in the face. I'm like, just say they're over 60. Like you don't say that about people who are like 30 years old in the study. So anyway, none of the participants had any cardiac or orthopedic conditions that would contraindicate study participation. And they weren't undergoing any therapy stuff, blah, 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 blah. So that was who's in the study. And it wasn't necessarily a systematic review or meta-analysis, but they were looking at studies. So the participants were divided into lower, which was less than or equal to 0.92 grams per kilogram of protein per day. That was the lower protein intake. The moderate protein was between 0.93 grams and 1.16 grams per kilogram a day for protein. And then the higher grams of protein, the high gram protein group was 1.16 grams per kilogram of body weight per day. And to be honest, what do you guys think of those breakdowns? Like, I feel like even their high was low.
100%.
Yeah. So that was the only thing. But I also, maybe they were taking into account the fact that they were untrained, because most of the time we're giving protein recommendations, we're assuming that you're trained. We're also assuming that you're doing resistance training regularly. So I don't know how they landed on those numbers, but as we talk about the study today, I just want people to know that these were lower protein recommendations than I would pursue or have an athlete pursue. And basically all three groups increased muscle mass from baseline, but the moderate and higher groups gained significantly more than the lower. All three groups experienced similar reductions in fat mass. So that's it. That's everything. We can kind of talk about the study, talk about protein consumption, all of those kind of things. But what did you all think of the study?
This is ladies only. I'm going to ask you go first.
What? Look at you switching it up. So just like we said, they're all over 60. And I just wanted to point out, like, they're closer to 70 than they are to 60. So I think I don't know, but I think maybe the reason they did this is because they've gone through menopause and done all that. So like hormonal shifts and stuff like that, they didn't have to really take into account. Again, not quite sure because that wasn't mentioned in the study. I think it was cool too that they, all the diets were non-vegan and non-vegetarian. So I'm assuming that they added animal protein. They weren't super specific as to what protein sources they were using. But again, they were going for body comp. So when you look at the workouts that they were doing, they were a little bit higher reps. So like more hypertrophy based kind of thing. But that was one of my points, Jerred, was their high was considered low. If you look at there's a table that they added in there, and I believe it was like 80 grams a day. Like that's almost half of what I'm taking now.
Yeah, their high puts me at like 90 grams of protein a day or something like that, or 95. That's just super very low. Yeah. And
then the amount of carbs, I know Joe will probably hit on this a little bit more, was also kind of higher for the amount of protein that they were intaking. So I'm just wondering, like, if it was were they doing it off of percentages, or obviously they're looking at protein here. So was protein the biggest thing? And then they just kind of, tweaked everything else around it. I don't know. But again, for the carb part, I find that females sometimes do need more carbs than men. We, for Women's Health Track, we have females start at like 40% carb, which, guys can go a little bit lower than that. But the amount of calories they were eating a day, did you guys, like, what do you think of? It's like the highest was 1698 or something. So 1700 calories a day was all they were eating. Now granted, they are older, and I mean,
their size, that might be okay. I don't know how.
Well, in age, when you're calculating like daily caloric need, you always put in like age,
energy
right?
expenditure.
So, yeah, that goes down. Like your RMR is just less as you age, and so I think that's why they were going
a little bit
lower on everything, I guess. But still, I don't know. It's kind of weird.
Yeah. But I do find when I consume more protein, it makes a huge difference for me, especially when I am trying to cut and trying to, see a bigger difference. But again, these ladies were all untrained. That's the huge part of this, right? So they saw big differences, and it was a longer study, right? It was 24 weeks. So they did this for quite a while, but I also feel like, if you've been training for a little bit, I feel like you're going to have to hone in on the diet even more, because that's where the big, I think, differences come from. Their training was a little bit linear. I couldn't quite get a big overall consensus of what kind of programming they used. Obviously, programming is a good deal too, but I think for everybody knows that diet is probably the 90%, especially for our athletes. We're only training an hour a day. So I feel like the nutrition side of it is a huge thing. And I think the quality of protein, and I'm not just talking just your supplementation of protein, like I'm talking even the protein, if you're eating animal protein, where is that coming from? Anyways, I think all of these things are very, very important when you are adding higher amounts of protein into your diet. Joe, what did you feel?
Yeah, there was a somewhat, I said it, there was linear periodization, but it was very mild. So like the first 12 weeks, they had all the exercise they did fell within a certain rep range. And when they went to the top of that rep range, they told them to add a little bit of weight. And then the second 12 weeks, the rep range was lower. And it was basically the same thing. Whenever they got to the top of the rep range, they told them to add a little bit of weight. So it was very mild, but it was still somewhat of a linear progression. Trying to find these nutrition hacks where you're, doubling your protein because you think you can get more gains and lose more fat. Maybe focus on the protein or maybe focus on the programming instead of just doubling your protein. Like that's going to just be magic or something. But I think one of the main things that I wanted to, because it's especially for lean mass between moderate and high protein. I mean, you can only gain so much lean mass at a time. But the main one I wanted to look at, and what I was thinking of during, was the fat loss, and why that the higher protein group may have lost more fat than the lower and moderate. And I think it's because, so if their calories were about equal, when you're eating more protein, that means you're taking calories away from carbs and fat. And I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but carbs and fat can be stored for energy to use later, but protein, you're pretty much just like, if you're not using it, you basically lose it. So they're kind of just like dead calories that your body's getting rid of. So you are consuming the same amount of calories, but you're not doing anything with them or storing them. And therefore maybe in more of a deficit if you are consuming a ton more protein, because it still counts toward your total calorie intake for the day, but it's not actually being stored. Does that sound about right?
And there's a greater thermic effect of protein when consuming, so your body just has to burn more. That's why when you go on any kind of workout plan or whatever, we want you to increase your protein, because it's going to burn more calories just to ingest it, digest it.
Yeah. So it's not one of those things where, I'm eating more protein because more protein burns more fat. It's more of a side. There's a couple of other reasons why, or side effect to that. So that's kind of why, and it is kind of important to note, because you need to make sure you're getting enough protein, which is why it's one of the main things that we talk about: hydration and protein, especially for these kinds of goals. But that doesn't mean you should be consuming 3-4 grams per body weight of protein, because it's just going to overload you, and you're not going to get any more gains. You might just maybe just go into a deficit instead of consuming way too much protein, because it's going to be a waste of money. It just might have some other adverse effects on you. You probably get stopped up a little bit more. All these things. I mean, I'm just thinking back to deployments. All the bros were just
no.
Yeah, those. Yeah. Anyway, so that was the main main thing that I was thinking about with this one, and why they were changing so much. I think that's about all I have. Yeah.
Okay. I think just diving into it a little bit more, we all did think that the protein recommendations in the study were low, but overall, they all increased muscle mass from their baseline, and they had all similar reductions in fat mass. So it still worked, which means to me, in these untrained individuals, they weren't even hitting those basic protein recommendations, in their daily life pre this study. So they were probably consuming like 40 grams of protein a day, 50 grams of protein a day. And then once they increased it up to 80, 90 grams of protein per day with a resistance training exercise program implemented, they're all gaining muscle mass and they're losing fat mass. And that's huge, especially as you age. You want as much muscle mass as you can have as you get older, because it gets harder and harder to gain as you get older. So you want to have as much as you can. So it's very possible. I think that this is a great study. I think in our community, we probably don't have an overwhelming amount of 60-year-old females. I know we have some, but I think that the overall takeaway just for protein recommendations, we need to focus on it, all of us and athletes. And one thing that we have done a lot in the past is the protein and water challenge. And so I'll go over those kind of recommendations real quick, because we've said that what they recommended were low recommendations. So I'll give you kind of what we typically recommend. So when we do the protein and water challenge, we want athletes to intake water that equates to 50% of their body weight in ounces. So if you weigh 180 pounds, that'd be 90 ounces of water minimum for the day. And then the protein recommendations, we generally recommend 1.8 to 2 grams per kilogram of body weight. And you could also, if you do the gram per kilogram version, you don't have to worry about whether we're basing it off of lean muscle mass or, taking out your fat mass, all those kind of things. You do that typically when you're talking in pounds, if that makes sense. So yeah, just 1.8 to 2 grams per kilogram of body weight. And that'll normally put you in a proper range. And again, that's assuming you're exercising multiple times per week. It's assuming that exercise involves resistance training. And if you haven't done those things, and those are the only two things I like for athletes to track when you first start tracking things, like let's forget about the carbohydrates, forget about the fat, just focus on those two things. And you'll notice a lot. Yes, you can gain more muscle mass and you will lose fat mass if your diet's structured appropriately. But other things I notice when I am taking enough protein is I actually feel like I just have more energy, and I'm more mentally alert, and I just feel better. And so anytime I feel like my energy's off and I'm kind of feeling crappy, I have to look at my diet and I'm like, something's not right here. Like I'm not consuming enough protein, and that's easy to do if you're not paying attention. So that's why I think tracking at least those two things on a daily basis are pretty easy to do, because you can even you don't need an app for this. If you just have like a notebook or a note in your phone, it's very easy to even estimate protein amounts, because if you go to a restaurant and you have a chicken salad, you can ballpark what a chicken breast would be protein wise. You get better at it the more you track it. So I think that's a great place for all of our athletes to look at your protein intake if your body comp is not what you want. And if you are looking for that unicorn, the body recomp, where we're losing fat while gaining muscle, you have to focus on your protein and you have to have resistance training in place. So I think those are kind of my biggest takeaways from the study, because other than that, there's not a lot to pull from here other than females, if you're not already, do resistance training. And then everybody else, make sure that you're consuming enough protein on a daily basis. I don't think I have anything else for that. Let me look at my notes. No. You guys have anything else there?
Nope.
Yeah, pretty straightforward. Get your protein. It's good for you. All right, Joe, what are we talking about today?
Yeah, so I thought of this last week. If you're listening to this podcast, that means you're probably into fitness, to do some sort of working out. And on Instagram and Facebook, I constantly see those ads for the medals for the virtual races, whether it's virtual 5K, virtual climb this mountain, virtual this. When you do this, we'll send you a medal kind of thing. And I know I always have a mixed reaction to it whenever I see them. And I'm kind of curious as to how y'all's perception and thoughts are toward them, especially because things are being hit more and more digital. I mean, we're an online company for fitness in general. So like, hey, virtual races, does that make sense? So I'm kind of curious as to how people's thoughts and feelings are toward it. And we can just talk about that in general. So Ashley, you want to kick it off?
Sure. I think for me, I want to like dive in deeper, like for these virtual races. Like, do you have to record like how far this is and then have somebody approve it and then videotape? Like, how does this work? Because that's the thing is obviously I've seen these happen, and I've seen like virtual stuff for like CrossFit went big on it when, you know, COVID kicked off, but they sent like you had to have like an official judge. They had to like videotape, you know, the height difference for, you know, handstand push-ups and the boxes and everything, and had to like make sure, you know, like they're real weights, not fake weights, you know, whatever the heck it is. And so do you know anything about like the races, like 5Ks and 10Ks?
It depends on the company. I think some of the shorter ones, like the 5K companies or other ones, they're just like, hey, sign up, do this. And then when you complete it, I think we just send it. But then there's one of the bigger companies that I know I definitely see all the time, the Conquer, that they have all the mountains and the places around the earth, to where they actually have like an app, and you log it as you go. And then once you hit complete, they send it to you. Now, I don't know how much they check it. I don't know if you could just be like, yeah, I just did 90 miles today. Can you send me my medal? Like, kind of thing.
Huh. That's cool. Well, I don't know. I think part of the races and the competition for me is I like going to different places and, you know, doing the race or doing whatever with people. I feel like that motivates me more. For other people, it might not. I mean, for other people, they might be just fine doing it by themselves. But I also think there's an aspect to it of taking you out of your own climate per se, or like you know, let's say you're running around your neighborhood, for example, you know, or something like that, and taking you out of that and putting you in a completely different spot and seeing if you can perform the same way that you perform, or maybe even better at, you know, wherever you're training. And I kind of like that aspect, I guess, is what I'm saying. Like, I feel like to remove somebody and like put somebody else, you know, I feel like you kind of find who's, I don't know, better because of doing that. I don't know. I don't think I personally would do a virtual event. I mean, maybe I like the competitive aspect of it, of, you know, having someone next to me or in front of me that I'm trying to pass or something like that. And I feel like it's a lot of work. Like, if you're going to have to, you know, video yourself or track yourself or whatever, that's cool about the app. I never knew about that, but yeah.
Is it that much more work than tracking 200 or 300 workouts in a year?
That's different. I don't know. Or like, I wonder if you had to like pay for somebody to come and like measure your own thing, and who knows, like maybe you've been like 25 meters short or something, like, you know, like the
I
mile.
doubt it's that much of a stickler. I think that would only come in if there's like a prize for winning or something. But if you're just,
I don't think these companies care. They're
like,
give me $50. I'll give you your $3 medal. You said you did it? Great. Here's your $3 medal. Thanks for the $47 in profit.
We'll see. And then in there, and like, well, there's no standard, so why the heck would I even care? Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's just like,
Yeah. I mean,
that is, yeah.
I think it goes both ways with these virtual races. I think any kind of challenge like Daily Over Decades or a virtual 5K, if that gets you out and gets you moving and get you to stick to things, that's great. And so awesome. You know, go do those things. I don't think that they're super applicable though. At least for me, I know when COVID happened, I had signed up for the 100-mile bike race, the Hotter than Hell that I typically do. And they obviously had to cancel it, just like everything else in the world got canceled. And I think they encouraged like everyone doing it, like a virtual option the day that the race was scheduled. And I don't know about anybody else's life, but I can't just squeeze in a 100-mile bike race like on a Saturday if it's just at my house. You know what I mean? I just like, one, I feel bad about it. Emily wouldn't be that cool with it because it's just kind of ridiculous. Like and maybe it's that event specifically, but it's a lot of time. But one, I don't have the proper like weigh station. So I'd have to like do loops or something to be able to come back to my house, or ask Emily to waste her Saturday, like being like my crew, like, hey, yeah, meet me at this spot. Yeah. My support crew. And so I just feel like some of these just aren't realistic. And that's why I think the event, kind of like Ashley was saying, like, you go to it, you have to wake up early, you have to show up. And those are all the things that I kind of like about an event. And then also it kind of removes me from my family. Like he is there, that's what he's doing. You could visit whatever, but I like that format better than, hey, I'm going to go do a 5-hour workout on Saturday. And they're like, what the hell? Like, and so it just for my life in general, I feel like virtual events don't really fit. And I have zero motivation for a medal or a trophy or whatever they're giving out. I have a lot of those and I don't know where any of them are.
Nope.
I'm not a huge fan of keeping those things. I typically do the event for the challenge and get what I can get out of it personally and mentally, and then it's over. So yeah, I think that they're great though if they get you like going. And I'd love to hear what the community thinks about virtual events, because we could run some sort of virtual event, at Garage Gym Athlete. Again, it gets sticky if there is some sort of like prize or whatever. If you did like a powerlifting meet or I feel like endurance ones would be basically impossible.
Yeah.
Those would be really difficult, but at least it could be a good challenge.
Virtual Murph, and everybody just like zooms in, and then for the mile they just leave it in their garage.
Yeah, they just stand on the other side of the camera for 6 minutes, like,
Yeah.
and then they walk back breathing. They're like, "Whew, that was fast." Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. Whenever I see the ads, my initial reaction is always just like, oh, okay, so we're just gonna buy a medal and then it looks cool. It's the cool medal
you
you're
buy
gonna,
a medal.
yeah. And I mean, like when we're talking about, I think on the 5K side of it, like the lower end, like why? Because I just looked at one of the sites and it's $30 for like a 5K medal. I'm just like, I literally run a 5K or even a 6K every week. Like I don't need to pay $30 to do
free
it.
Right
now. I know, yeah. And I know some people, not everybody is very all that active. I heard that the Couch to 5K, I think people, what I've heard, love. It's just like a very progressive program where you start to just walk and then walk, jog, and do something like that to warm up to your 5K, and then have it like an actual physical 5K in your hometown, lined up for you, 6-8 weeks down the road if you need to work towards something, because then you can't move that date. You have to show up to that date and do it. I know personally, if I didn't have you guys to do that Spartan race, no way in hell I was doing that. And that was just miserable.
And now when I ask, you guys just have excuses. So
just
yeah,
because you put us through it. Now we're like, screw
busy
that.
What weekend is it? It's this weekend. You're like, oh, I'm busy. I'm like, actually, I was wrong. It's this weekend. You're like, busy that one too.
Yep, so busy.
Look how that worked.
No. Well, and then now y'all are talking about like 24-hour races where you lose sleep. I'm like,
I'm not talking about those. Joe's talking about those.
Okay, well, it's a relay, so you run for like 30 or 40 minutes and then you rest for like 4 hours. So like, it's not that bad. Anyway. So then, yeah, so those shorter ones I think are kind of dumb, and that's my initial reaction. And then the other side of it is, yeah, it's if it gets you moving and gets you motivated, you should do it. But I think you need to put the line pretty much farther down and make it like an actual harder attainable goal. And some of these, like the Conquer website, they have anywhere from like 20 miles as their lowest to like hundreds or even 1,000 miles for like the really, really big ones. And so you can choose any of these. And while I still think that's good to have these big goals, like there's no time frame on it. So if you were to do those, I think you need to have something to push you, some sort of time frame. If you do a 90-mile one, but you're only doing like 2 miles a week, like, yeah, you're going to eventually get there, but did you actually work hard to do it? And you're sure you have this medal that you paid for, but there still needs to be some sort of challenge, stress fracture, what am I trying to say?
Factor, not fracture.
Factor, not fracture.
You need a stress fracture if you're going to go do one of these.
You're not working hard enough unless you get a stress fracture. Oh, that's just bad advice. All right. So anyway, and if you were to do these, I think it could be cool because, okay, if you give your long distance, give your timeline, and then on this day, you can get like small community groups that you're all kind of tracking each other. So I think that would be fine if it gets you moving, gets you out to, as long as it's making you be out of your comfort zone to a certain extent. and you can see certain places and stuff. I just clicked on the Kilimanjaro one because, I've actually been and climbed Kilimanjaro, not a flex or anything.
Humble brag.
That was totally a flex.
And it does look really cool. And like, I'd even do this just be like, well, I actually don't have any souvenirs from Kilimanjaro, so maybe I just call this my souvenir or something. But that's kind of my thoughts toward these virtual events in general. Like, for a lot of them, you're just paying money for a medal, and that's cool. But I think you need to have a physical event if you can, to just do to like lock it in, to make you do it, make you uncomfortable, to push you. And then if you do these longer ones, these virtual ones, then still have something to push you, whether it's other people or an actual time deadline to these long distances, saying, okay, I think I can achieve this 60 miles in 2 months. Oh, okay, so that's, math it out, and then that's what I'm going to do 2 months. And if not, then maybe I'll start over or something like that.
Yeah, maybe we should have charged for the Daily Over Decades challenge.
Damn.
$5 for the entry, and then we just give away all the prize money at the end.
Or the prize money could have gone towards the row. I don't know. Yeah.
No, we'll still give away the rower. Give away the rower and a cash prize.
Wow. Look at
That
you.
would be
Next challenge.
not our cash. It's the entry fee cash. That's a great way to kick things up a notch. These virtual events just gave me a great idea.
No. We'll get VD to print out some medals on his 3D printer.
Oh, gracious.
Also, my dad has an engraving business. Like, he does a lot of our leather patches and stuff. I should just start having him make me like trophies for like hard workouts I've done. Like, text, hey dad, I just did a tough one.
I need the King Kong.
Did a 5K.
Trophy.
I want a medal and a trophy.
5K. I love it. You consider that in the tough. I know you're joking.
Yeah, I am joking. Yeah, just know why you're in it. I think that it always comes down to your why. I don't like to, make fun of things. I think if it gets you motivated, that's awesome. And I really don't care if it's Peloton, challenging you with their virtual community or a virtual 5K, like whatever you need to get in the game. But I don't think any of those things last long term. I think you really need some pretty hard intrinsic drivers to stick with the Daily Over Decades approach. And you could just like string a bunch of these together for the rest of your life. Like, I'm going to do a challenge every month until I die. And so or an event, and that'd be awesome. You could do that.
Impressive.
But yeah, I think that they have their place. But if it's going to be long, that's like another reason why I don't golf. It's a huge waste of my Saturday.
It's expensive.
Who cares about that? It's the time. Like, it's so long. Like, it's so long.
And you have to wear a collared shirt, so there's that for you too.
Not all courses.
I golfed with my brother-in-law before his wedding, and I was just like, after we got to like the 11th hole, I was like, we can be done, right? We can be done. They're like, nope, gotta do all 18. It's just so long. But I'm not even bad at golf. I'm not like, people are like, oh, he just says it because he's bad at golf. I'm not that bad at golf. I'm decent at it. It's just so boring to me.
I'm not sure if I said this in the meeting or not, but I actually just bought my first set of golf clubs like last week.
You did.
Oh, okay, so I am just being attacked.
You're picking up the.
Okay.
No, play 9 holes. I'll play 9 holes with anybody.
Yeah, yeah.
I can't play 18. That's just too long for me.
It's a test of patience, if anything.
Yeah, maybe I need some more patience.
I like Top Golf. Gives me points.
Top Golf is great. You can.
I don't have to walk anywhere. I can order food right here.
Yeah. Top Golf is where.
And I get points on a board, and it makes me feel like, yeah, I'm doing something.
And that's the only thing I'm actually good at is driving. So I could just whack the ball every time.
They have the Angry Birds game. You don't have to be good at all. All you do is hit line drives.
So let's talk about Murph.
Never heard of it.
So I'm guessing Murph is coming up. Where are we? When is this published?
It's gonna be Memorial Day weekend.
Yeah, it's coming up. Let me look at my calendar. Hold on.
Publishes on the 23rd.
So your child's birthday, no big deal.
Well, that's why on my calendar it doesn't say Memorial Day. It only says William's birthday.
Publishes on the 23rd. Memorial Day is the 30th. So this will be actually, it's technically Saturday is 28th. Memorial Day is 30th.
Yeah, it always happens that way. So Murph, the workout is in memory of Lieutenant Michael P. Murphy. And that's one thing I think everyone should just like pause for a second and think about every time that you do it. And I try to make sure that we don't do that as a community. It can be tough sometimes to remember, because we get so focused on just doing the workout fast, arguing about whether or not you can partition reps and all that junk. And don't worry, we're getting plenty of that coming in the next couple of minutes. But really, I think just remembering whether it's Murph himself or other fallen soldiers. I think Memorial Day, the Murph workout has kind of been selected. And I don't think that crowds of CrossFit gyms and people all around the world are specifically trying to remember Murph. It's more the collective of, fallen heroes that have happened, unfortunately, over the years, So think about that when you're going into Memorial Day and the effort that you give. That's why I don't like, unless medically necessary, I don't like zone 2 Murphs. I don't like sandbagging Murphs on Memorial Day. I think Memorial Day is the time where you go hard. And through that effort, you learn a little bit more about yourself. And in no way is it comparison to anything that any military personnel has experienced while under attack or anything like that, but it does give you a safe way to put yourself in just a little bit of pain, to remember those who have fallen. Now, having said all that, the workout, you can do vested or not vested, up to you really. You're going to start with a mile run. After that mile run, you're going to come back. You're going to do 100 pull-ups, 200 push-ups, and 300 squats. After those calisthenics are completed, you will run another mile. And for the calisthenics, you can partition them any way you would like. So says the workout instructions. Not me.
So says his dad.
I didn't make that up. That's what it says as the workout is written. Partition the reps as needed. So you can partition the reps really however you want. And we've had a lot of people in the community get very creative with these things. And we have talked about Murph probably 1,000 times now. So we can give some more tips and tricks as we always do. But I'm not going to be able to say anything different than I've already said. So if you've heard me talk about Murph a lot, you know what I'm going to say, but we're going to say it again. For the two of you, what are some tips that you think about going into Murph? Maybe the actual execution of the workout, maybe prep ahead of time and recovery afterwards, just to change up what we talk about a little bit for Murph this time.
So we have an entire playlist on our YouTube channel that you can check out of all different kinds of looking at Murph and every single bits of light. So if you really want to, smash Murph or get all your tips that you want, or just really deep dive into it, check out that playlist. For my tips, one that I always say that I still probably do to this day is, and this is all in the light of breaking up your partitioning reps into 5, 10, 15 sets, is I always do my push-ups in 5s. So I do 5 push-ups and I rock back onto my knees for like 3 or 4 seconds. And then I do 5 push-ups, because even though the first like 10 rounds, I know I could do 10. After 10, when you get the 12 and plus, you start to hit that muscle fatigue. And some people might hit it in different spots. And once you hit that muscle fatigue, you might get 3 or 4, and then you have to rest 5, 6 seconds, and you got 3 or 4, and then you have to rest another 5 or 6 seconds. When if you just do that 3 or 4 second rest from the start, you can keep that pace pretty much the entire 20 rounds. So that's one of the big ones. And if you need a little bit more rest, I know that we should always push as fast as hard as you can, but that's not always the case for everyone. Not everyone's going to be either as metabolically, conditioned to ready, or even muscle fatigue and whatnot. I'd say I always try and, like, if I need to, then every 5 rounds I will, when I take a break, quote unquote break, is when, like, especially if it's hot and we're doing pull-ups, if you need to rechalk up every 5 rounds, I will rechalk up my hands for the pull-ups. I might take another couple of like 30 seconds of breathing rest. If you just really need to, if like you're really gassed, but you should really still be threading that line of, basically redlining, especially for Memorial Day. And by now it's pretty much too late to prep, but just go to it. Yeah, you pretty much. Yeah,
That makes it even better though if you're looking for the pain factor.
Oh man.
Yeah, zero prep is a great way to walk into Murph.
I walked into my first one.
Yeah, Ashley.
So we have done Murph podcasts previously. So go back, listen to those if you want to get more in depth. But for me, like I said, I don't trust, just random playlists. So I make my own. So I highly suggest doing that and know what you want to do. If you want a little EDM for the run, a little screamo or rap or something for the calisthenics, and then you need some more
Jock
EDM.
jams.
Just
jock jams.
My friend just introduced me to Timmy Trumpet.
Never heard of her.
Me either until last week. Not bad. Maybe check it out.
It's probably just a trumpet player, isn't it? Like jazz
good.
trumpet player.
Oh my gosh! Here we go.
You have to go check it out. Timmy Trumpet's got some
probably on level with Electric Powwow.
Oh man, that stupid song.
It's about as good as those.
It's still the top song in our Garage Gym Athlete playlist on Spotify.
It's a really good song.
Not like top rated. It's just the first one that I added. I left it there.
No, it's the top rated as well.
Lord.
5 out of 5 stars.
Me too. Anyways, 80 to 90% on the run is what I would say. And go out, and then for the calisthenics, I mean, where you make up your time is, get them air squats done super, super fast and down, up. And I don't know, make sure, bring rows or inverted body rows if you're scaling back and, or if you need to scale. And then obviously knee push-ups can be air squats. Everyone can do some air squats. But yeah, Murph is great. And I echo exactly what Jerred said. Just while you're doing the workout, just kind of be mindful of why you're doing the workout and put yourself in that mindset. Jerred?
Yeah, so Murph, it's a tough one. And I think the calisthenics are what most people need to focus on. Doing something like Joe said, doing something that keeps your ability to do continuous movement. And so Joe is talking about doing 5 push-ups, taking a quick break, even if he doesn't need to, 5 more push-ups. And I think that's good if you just don't want to hit muscle failure, because that, in my opinion, it kind of kills the workout, because muscle failure, while it sucks, it's really not that painful, because after you reach muscle failure, you just can't do anything anymore. I mean, you can't do anything. You have to just sit around and rest and wait for your body to recover to be able to do more. And so I think the worst version of Murph, and this is why I think kipping makes it the worst version and partitioning makes it the worst version, is the version that makes you move fast and keeps you moving fast. And that's why I think not partitioning is slower and less challenging. And I think strict pull-ups is slower and less challenging than a partitioned Murph where you just kip and you go fast. And I don't even like kipping pull-ups. But in this workout, it makes the workout a lot worse. What's funny is, to get out of my neighborhood, you have to run a quarter mile, and the stop sign that gets you out of my neighborhood is exactly a quarter mile. And it's like uphill, like it's uphill to the stop sign. And then you run downhill for a quarter mile and you hit another sign, and then you can turn around and come back. But then you're going uphill again and then downhill. All that to say, I thought I was getting less fit. My Murph times just kind of suck around my house and I've decided that that's it, because I was looking at my calisthenics and they're all like on par with like the pacing, but my mile times around here are just worse. I can't.
Are your streets just as treacherous as they used to be?
Yeah, streets are awful, and
it's
hard, but a little bit better on the true form, but the true form is still a little bit difficult. So anyway, if you want to make it harder, make the run more. Yeah, run hills in your workout. Because I'll redline it on a mile. Like I tried that last week, and that still sucks. My mile time's still not great. So anyway, go as hard as you can on the calisthenics. That's where you're going to make up all your time. The miles are the miles. You can't, if you think about it, if you're able to squeak out an 8-minute mile on your first mile and your last mile, that's whatever. But say you got that down to 7 minutes, that's like phenomenal. But you only took 2 minutes off your Murph. So all the time that you can actually take off your Murph is going to be in the calisthenics. So really focus on that and going fast there. As far as warming up, do warm up for this one. Get ready for those pull-ups, get ready for the push-ups and the squats. I like to do a lot of arms only rowing, legs only rowing, and full rowing. Talked about that before. It's one of my favorite warm-ups. I don't like to do any additional calisthenics before Murph. I normally do. Before almost every workout, I warm up with calisthenics except for Murph. So I'll just do some rowing. And then I try to get my heart rate to low zone 2 before I even get started, because I hate the shock. If you go from like 70 beats per minute to immediately like 160 because you're sprinting a mile, like I hate that. It's just such a bad feeling. So try and get in zone 2 before you start, especially if you're going to go hard. And then cool down. Like if you have to jog another mile after resting for like 5 or 10 minutes, jog another mile, row, do something, stretch out. Don't be done. I know you want to lay on the ground after Murph and wallow in your misery, but get your ass off the ground. Remember why you're doing the workout again. And you don't need to be laying on your back complaining about how hard the workout was. Get up, walk around, and then I'm not saying you have to run another mile, but do something to move your body to get the blood flow going so that the recovery is not going to be awful.
That vest removal is a heaven.
Yeah. Remove the vest, lay on the ground, cry.
Drink a Killcliff or Fit Aid if you're you too.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Or Fit Aid. Yeah. If you want the recovery magic. Okay. But I think that's it. You guys have anything else for Murph?
We did. I don't know how long ago it was, a year or two ago, but we did a study where hands on your knees is a good. Oh my God, I knew that was going to go there. Hands on your knees is a good way to lower your heart rate and recover. Not how Ashley was illustrating it. So not hands on your head, hands on your knees to help recover while during the workout. The
twerk without a twerk.
Mm-hmm.
There you go.
And don't hands on your knees when you air squat. Because that is twerking.
That's cheating.
That's not cheating.
That is twerking.
Stop.
Okay. Well, that's it for today. Good luck, all of our athletes tackling Murph. Should be most of you for Memorial Day. Even if you typically skip Meet Yourself Saturday, don't on this one. Do Murph either on Saturday or Monday, assuming you have the day off from work. But that's it. For this episode. We're going to get out of here. For all of our athletes tackling the workout and doing the programming and staying with the Daily Over Decades, we really appreciate you guys for making the community awesome. And for anyone who is interested, go to garagegymathlete.com, sign up for a 14-day free trial. And remember, if you don't kill comfort, comfort will kill you. Gym Athlete Podcast. If you want to learn more, go to garagegymathlete.com. You can learn about our training. Let us send you a copy of our book, The Garage Gym Athlete, or you can even get featured on the Garage Gym Athlete podcast. Thanks for listening.